Hi guys, my name is Peace Adebayo. Thank you for stopping by, and please don't forget to click on the subscribe button. So today we'll be cutting that beautiful crop top you saw there. This is my wrapper, this is my French curve, and this is my chalk and my scissors. This is also the measurement I'm going to be using to cut the crop top. One side off shoulder crop top. So now I'm going to fold my fabric into four with the zipper allowance by the side. So just watch me while I fold my fabric neatly with the zipper allowance by the side. The zipper allowance shouldn't be more than 2 inches because when the person gets bigger and you've loosed out every other allowance, you can also fall into the zipper allowance for the person. So that's why I normally add 2 inches to be on the safer side. That's why I normally add 2 inches for my clients or on my dress. Thank you. Watch me while I fold my fabric into fold. The zipper allowance, as you can see, by the left hand side. So I'm trying to check if the folding is okay or if it's more than that so I can reduce it. So now I'm checking the crop top length measurement. The crop top length is 19, but I'm going to add 1 inch to it. For sewing allowance, that's 20. That's going to make it 20. So now I folded my the down of my dress 2 inch. I folded it because of the lining to push the lining inside. So now I'm checking my crop top length measurements, which is 20. That's including the allowance. So I'm going to cut it out. I'm going to chalk it and cut it out. So now I'm chalking the 20 inches out, and I'm going to chalk it out. Then I'll cut it. So I've chalked it out. I'm just trying to make sure it's neatly arranged. So I'm going to cut it out and start with my normal basic body measurements. Zipper allowance, it shouldn't be more than 2 inches. So now I'm done folding and cutting what I'll be needing for the crop top. So now I want to start with my basic body measurements. So now I'm going to first measure the back. I'm going to measure the back, and our back is 7.5, but I'm going to add half inch to it, making it 8. So I'm going to chalk out 8, and I'm going to chalk the armhole. That's also the armpit. I'm going to use 8 for armhole. I normally use 8 for armhole. Then after that, I'm going to use a ruler to draw a straight line before I now make the curve for the armhole. So I'm just going to use my French curve to make the curve for my armhole. And as you can see, I've done the curve already. You can see the French curve. This is just how is easier for me to get my curve for armhole, and you can't get it wrong. It's always correct. So I've curved it for my armhole. So now I'm going to measure her under bust. Her under bust is 13. I'm going to add half to it, making it 13 and a half. And I'm going to measure her half length afterwards. Her half length is 15. I'm going to measure 15 and a half. So I'm going to draw a straight line. This is the under bust line. This is the half length line. So I'm done doing that. So I'm going to check the bust measurements. The bust, I'm going to measure it under the armhole, in between this under bust line and this armhole. So under the armhole, I'm going to measure the bust. Her bust, I divided it by 4 and I measured it. and I got the measurement and measured it there. So I'm going to do same for the under bust. On the under bust line, I'm going to measure the round under bust. Your round under bust. As you can see, I'm also dividing my tape into four, and I'm going to measure it there because my fabric is folded into four. So I'm going to divide the measurement by four and measure it on the fabric, and I'm going to chalk it on the fabric. So I've done the same. So the same thing for the half length. On the half length line, I'm going to measure the waist. So I'm also dividing the waist by four. So I'm going to measure it on the half length line. So I've gotten my waist measurement, and I'm measuring it on the half length line. So now, after I'm done with it, I'm just going to add 2.5 inch allowance to it because it's a princess dart. So I would have just added 1.5 inch to it, but I'm going to add 2.5 inch to it because it's a princess dart and I want to be on the safer side. I'm going to cut the princess dart and join it. So the joining, that was what made it 2.5 inch. So now I'm trying to connect everything together. I'm connecting everything together. So now I'm done connecting it. I'm just trying to make the lines align so you can see the line boldly. So now I'm done with it. I'm now going to come on that armhole line. On the armhole line, I will come there and measure 5.5 inch. On that 5.5 inch, that's where my princess dart is going to start from. So I measured 5.5 inch there, and her bust cut is 9.5. That's from your shoulder to your nipple side is 9.5. So on that 9.5, you're going to measure four. That's nipple to nipple. Her nipple is 8. Her nipple to nipple is 8 divided by 2. That's 4. So I chalked it there. So now I'm going to connect it together. I'm going to connect it from that 5.5 to the 4. I'm going to connect the princess darts together. That's how easy I get my princess darts. It's not hard. It's very easy. That's how easy to get your princess dart. You can even use freehand sketching if you are good in sketching, but I'm just trying to use the French curve so you understand. So this is my princess dart. I'm trying to make the line bold so you can see it. So now this is my princess dart. So I'm going to come up. After I'm done with this, I'm going to come up on that place I measured my back. That my shoulder, line. I'll come there on that armhole line and measure 1/2 inch, because our shoulder is usually slanty. It's not always straight, so I have to slant my shoulder. So I'm not measuring much. I'll just measure 1/2 inch there, and I'll slant it back. That's just it. I'm going to slant my shoulder, measure 1/2 inch, use my curve rule, the straight part there, and I'll slant it back. So my shoulder is slanted already. So after that, that's it. So that's just it. That's basically it for the crop top. So I'm going to take my scissors and notch where the lining is going to start from. That's where my lining is going to start from when I'm cutting my lining. So I just notched it. So now I'm going to cut out the fabric. I'm going to cut it out. So I'm cutting my fabric. So I'm basically done with that. So I'm going to cut out my princess dart. You can see how I'm cutting my princess dart. It's not hard. Princess dart is not hard. It's not hard at all. You're just going to cut it out right now. So I'm done cutting my princess dart. So I'm going to take the other side of the hair, the zipper allowance, and I'm notching it. I'm going to take the other side of the princess dart and also notch this place for lining when I join it. The other way I notched it here, that's how I notched it to the other side. So I'm going to, as you can see now, I want to cut the one side of shoulder, and the one side of shoulder is by the left hand side. So I notched the up of this place. I didn't notch it down. So I'm just facing it together so that they will be equal, and I'll notch the two of them together. So I'm notching the two of them together, as you can see. So after I'm done with that, instead of me just going to my machine to sew gather stitches for to join the zipper allowance, I'm just going to use my pin to hold them together. That will be faster. So I just used my pin to pin the fabrics together, the zipper allowance together. So now I've opened it. As you can see, I've opened it. So I'm going to place my front. Be conscious of this when you're cutting one side of shoulder. The right side should face the right side. The right fabric should face the right side of the fabric. As you can see, this is the back. The right side is facing the right side. So now I'm going to cut my one side off shoulder. So by the right hand side, I'm going to come there up and measure 4.5 inch. So I'm measuring 4.5 inch by the right hand side. So for the depth, I'm going to also measure 4.5 inch for the depth. Then afterwards, when you're cutting off shoulder, you normally use 4. I use 4 for my off shoulders. So I'm going to come by the left hand side and measure 4 inch because it's 4 we use for off shoulder. I just wanted the shape to come out well. That's why I used 4.5 inch by the right side. So now after I'm done with that, I'm going to try and curve my shape together for the one side of shoulder. You see, we are getting it already. The curve is looking beautiful already. That was why I used 4.5 inch by the right hand side. So it will just be straight, and it looks more better this way. So I'm cutting my one side of shoulder already. You can see how easy and simple it is. This is just the simple method of cutting it out. So I'm going to cut my one side of shoulder out. So you can see how simple it is. It's not hard. It's very, very simple like this to cut out. So I'm done cutting it together. I'll take the other side of the dart and just place it so you can see the outcome. I'm going to place them together. I'm So I'm placing them. So this how I'm going to join the dart. I'm going to join the dart before I cut lining. So that's going to be in our next video when I'll join the dart. Then I'll cut the lining and you see how the lining is. Then I'll sew it and I'll push it. Then you understand what I was saying. But this is just how it's the princess that is going to look like. In our next video, I'm going to join them together, cut the lining, cut the hand, and do the finishing of the dress. So look at how beautiful it is. And please don't forget to click on the subscribe button and hit on my like bar. Thank you so much for watching. My name is Adebayo. Peace. Thank you and bye.